Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
They always hear me, Jimmy. I know, my wife tells me I have a very loud voice. Well, on behalf of the Kalamazoo County Republican Party and the Van Cal Tea Party Patriots, I want to welcome you all here tonight to part of our ongoing series of informational meetings that we have. We've done this on some other topics as well. I have to admit we haven't had quite this interest and quite this turnout, and it's so appropriate. I'm really encouraged and excited to see everybody here, and I really want to thank you and appreciate you all taking the time to come out and hear about Common Core. It's such an important issue for us, for our kids, and for our grandkids, for those of you that are like me, that are a little big here and a little short here. So, you know, we've all got grandkids out on the way. A couple quick housekeeping items. If you do have a cell phone or a smartphone, if you could, silence that, I think we'd all appreciate it. And also, if you haven't had a chance to use the restrooms, if you haven't noticed already, they're down the hall and to the left. So straight down that hall and to the left. I want to thank Greg Polich and Linda Winters from the Kalamazoo County GOP Outreach Committee. They were very instrumental and helpful in putting on this event. I also want to thank our volunteers, Stan, Cheryl, and Rose. Those are the folks that checked you in. I want to appreciate them as well. I do want to take a couple minutes. There's some very familiar faces in the crowd, some faces that I don't recognize, and I think that's fantastic. I want to just take a minute or two for those of you that might not be familiar with what the Tea Party really is. And, you've heard on the news, there's probably, TEA taxed enough already. We have a couple different ideas that we like to use as well. We're basically a group of people that meet once a month. 50 to 60 of us meet once a month. And we pretty much do three things. One, we talk. We talk to each other about the issues of the day. We talk to each other to make sure that we know that each of us are not alone, and we aren't the only ones that think the way that we do. Our basic principles of limited government, fiscal responsibility, and free markets. And that's our primary focus. So we spend a lot of time talking and in some cases, ranting about different issues. I was explaining to one of our guests here that from time to time we institute a $1 a minute fundraiser. So you can come up and rant all you want, but it's a bucket. So that's one of the ways that we get to raise money as well. The second thing we do is we educate ourselves. So we have meetings like this. We have speakers come in and inform us about transportation, about Medicaid expansion, about funding for the roads, about energy. So we can have a better idea of how to do our last part, which is act. And that's take action, speaking to our legislators after the election season and during the legislative cycle, which is when we really feel our work begins. Once we become educated, we actually know what we're talking about and have some facts to back it up, we engage with our legislators and let them know how this particular group of people feel about an issue. Many of us also are involved politically. We run for precinct delegate, and if you haven't, I would encourage you to do so if you're interested in making an impact. Politically, we have a number of Tea Party office holders now that are sprinkled throughout the county, and we have many of our folks that are running for offices again this cycle. So, we talk, we educate, and we act. TEA, all right? That's the other part of the Tea Party. What we want to do is make sure, again, TEA, we're taking effective action. And that's the involvement in the political process. You don't hear so much on the news anymore about the rallies we hold and the flag waving. We're now working hard and we're acting, not just protesting and not just making a big stink. We're actually in the game and we're trying to accomplish the things, conservative values, constitutionally based government, because we feel that's the best avenue for prosperity for not only ourselves, but for our families and the country as a whole. So I would encourage you to attend our monthly meetings if you wish. That's generally what they are. We meet the first Thursday of every month, generally at the Home Builders Association. There's yellow pamphlets out there that you can get our Facebook information. You can like us on Facebook, and that way you can get some more information about when our meetings are holding and actually what the agenda is about. So I'm sure you didn't come here to hear about the Tea Party, but I can't. And the last person, of course, I want to thank is Melanie Kurdys. Melanie has worn many hats, and I've got to know her really well, and I consider her a good friend of mine at this point. She She's a former member of the Kurdys Board of Education. Perhaps you read about some of her work in the Gazette. She's also the past president of our Tea Party group. She served, I am following her, I'm standing on her broad shoulders at this point in terms of trying to keep our Tea Party active and important. She also ran for the State Board of Education for the state of Michigan in 2012. And for those of you that happen to be Republicans, nobody got more votes as a Republican than she did in the state of Michigan last night. She has a degree in mathematics, and she has tutored many math students. And she has traveled across just the state, not only for her candidacy for the State Board of Education, but also now with the implementation, or the attempted implementation of Common Core. She continues to travel across the state, talking to legislators, parent groups, teachers, homeschool groups, all in an effort to inform as best we can just what this Common Core is all about. So I'd like to introduce Ms. Melanie Kurdys.
I really appreciate that the Bankhouse Tea Party and the Kalamazoo Republicans were willing to put this on. I've been trying to organize a community conversation on Common Core for some time, and some people think that the issue is a done deal and there's no point talking about it, and I can't assure you more, this is not a done deal. So we are very fortunate tonight to have with us Dr. Terrence Moore from Hillsdale College. I've had the pleasure of working with Dr. Moore over several times over the last year, and I've come to respect him, his knowledge, his perspective, and I really enjoy his sense of humor. Dr. Moore came to Michigan, to Lansing last summer to testify on our behalf with the legislators. He's an assistant professor of history at Hillsdale College, a former Marine with a PhD from the University of Edinburgh. He served as the founding principal of a top K-12 classical school in Colorado. So Dr. Moore has more than just a philosophical understanding of education, he has a practical understanding. He advises the Hillsdale Charter School Initiative, provides assistance with the formation of classical charter schools across the country, and I was telling him today, we have a number of classical charters trying to be developed in the state of Michigan, and we're having a hard time getting them chartered. So this is something that we're going to keep working on. Dr. Moore is the author of The Perfect Game and the story we're featuring tonight, The Story Killers, a common sense case against Common Core. Here to share his insightful perspective with us, let us welcome Dr. Terrence Moore.